All righty. Lost access to your Kick account. Oh, I see. All right. Not live on Kick. Apologies, Hannibal. Okay. Howdy, folks. This is Jim Awrach on the UFO Report with the honor once again of broadcasting on the Hannibal TV. We have a very exciting episode tonight, and we have none other than the fabulous Tedesco brothers and the world-respected and renowned Donna Nardo. And you folks may be wondering, why in the heck are we going back to this all of a sudden? Because everybody knows what they do and what they work on, but do they really? Because the whole United States and now actually the whole world is aware of something that I would like to show you.
It's a continuum from corporeal bipedal type life to what I would consider like sentient plasmoid life, but there are several that the U.S. government is aware of.
There's a question for you, Mr. Brown.
Okay.
During the course of your
Okay, so with us we have Donna Nardo and John and Jerry Tedesco. Thank you folks so much for joining me. Appreciate it. You folks are always very generous, sharing your knowledge and so forth. What do you folks make of what David Grush had to say, given that he was with Tim Burchett, Eric Burleson, and Rep Luna?
Very interesting. That's just,
it was needed.
Yeah, it was needed. Yeah. So is that you folks have been working on this for a while. What do you think about corporeal bipedals? Does that sound sort of suspicious or maybe imaginative? I could tell you from my own experience in doing some investigations, I believe in and have seen some form of plasmoid, although I'm not sure quite what form. Lots of coverage we've all seen. Corporeal bipedals, it's hard for me to believe, but for God's sakes, if there's sentient plasmoids, I don't see why David Grush would be wrong about the other thing. What do you folks have to say?
well, it's tough because we don't have access to whatever documents he looked at or whoever he talked to in the classified world. But these sentient plasmoids is very interesting to us because that's something that we've regularly observed out there. These plasmoid-like objects that appear to have some kind of intelligence or demonstrated intelligence or awareness. So, definitely some kind of sentience. And,
I agree with Jerry. We've all seen that there together at Robert Moses State Park and other locales here on Long Island. But I just was curious, when Grush said the bipedals, what is everyone thinking he could possibly mean? I just am curious because I know we don't have any descriptive factors. We don't know what exactly, but what type of images would that conjure up in a form?
that's a $1 million question. All we can, and based on that description, all we could say it's something humanoid.
Right. And then, we're talking. We're also, the possibility of more than one species too.
Well, could it be insectoid though? So I was thinking a mantid, maybe a form of a mantid with just feet and two appendages, which are close to arms. I mean, you could really start imagining a lot of different forms with those descriptive words he used.
I know people because
he didn't say human-like, right? He didn't say human-like at all.
No, just bipedal creatures.
Yeah, with similarity. I mean,
but we have our people in the ufology community talk about, like you said, Donna, insectoids and reptilians and the Nordics, the Greys. I don't know
What
what
about people? What about us? Where are we going?
and then there's us.
Exactly.
There was a really interesting interview last night on Hannibal, and the gentleman said that his experience, what he remembers and what he's seen and witnessed, and I have no reason to doubt him, is that that the Greys are performing some sort of genetic alteration to make Donna, were you calling it transhuman? I guess is that the buzzword, so that they can adapt and live in our environment, and that slowly, human beings are going to be that extinct, and the Greys are going to be able to succeed because I guess their breed is becoming extinct. I don't know if you folks have heard that one before.
Well, in technology, for me, transhuman, because I used to be a supportive transhumanist years ago, once the term was first coined. However, in the past 3 or 4 years, I've kind of been scared of that movement. It's a movement where humans merge with technology. So everything Elon Musk is doing, everything all a super AI is doing will lead to that, because it'll create people who once couldn't walk, now they can walk. Eventually they might have other type of hearts, so body organs may be replaced. So we're talking about Wonder Woman, we're talking about Bionic Woman and Bionic Man, and eventually the line will be blurred between humans and technology. So, and at some point perhaps no human left at all. But that's very interesting that you bring up the mention of not non-human intelligence in whatever form it may exist in our world. How would that affect that type of music? How would those type of lives merge with AI?
It's crazy. Guys, I remember the whole story, and I was watching it again about that stranger that visited you when you were growing up, and he sort of pointed you in a direction of, this is something that you're looking into. And then I appreciate, Donna, you shared some really interesting information for me, and you opened a whole new avenue for me. There's still a select few, including you folks, that have been studying sentient plasmoids, but one of them apparently, and I never knew about him, but the very famous and well-known Dr. Tiorini, and
Oh, yeah.
oh my, yeah, he was interesting. So I was watching some of that, and I'm just wondering, do you what have you folks seen with these orbs? I'll show a little bit of footage, but what he's saying is with these plasmoids, for the ones that have, let's call it, the special ingredients to become self-aware or conscious, they have this term, and I sure as hell ain't no brain surgeon. I barely passed circuit theory, but this term about microtubules, which are these things in your brain, and it has to do with here we go, with quantum mechanics, engineering stuff, consciousness, and there's a wave function, and then as the wave function collapses, it moves on to the next conscious thought, etc. And we have 1 million thoughts per day, which, folks, I calculated, turns out to be 1 thought per 80 milliseconds, which is, for those nerds out there, that seems kind of slow for a human, but I guess it is what it is. But does that jive with what you've seen with these orbs, especially that orb that we're going to go into that from last year when you folks spoke with Ross about that orb that said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And so he saw you with your night goggles. Donna's goggles failed, and it went zip like about 20 feet away from you, and you put the goggles down, I guess, and then it backed off, that whole thing. So it was conscious, or there was somebody, or was there somebody, another being, another entity controlling it? Are these things probes? Are they self-contained, enclosed things, or are they? There's another theory out there, and I don't know, but you folks obviously know more than me. Some people are saying it's like a dangling telecommunication line, and someone needs to pick up the connection, and that would establish quantum entanglement for communication. But where does all that stand? Is it all the above, or what the heck is it?
I think everything is on the table at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's very
I mean-
interesting. Massimo Teodorani, I mean, he came up with this paper on the intelligent plasma hypothesis. I mean, others have talked about intelligent plasmas or packets of consciousness that can be self-contained and exist on their own outside of a biological vessel. You know, it's actually pretty interesting.
And even on the instrumentation level too. I mean, we've had several instances out in Robert Moses where we've actually detected a plasma, detected a solar blind signal. You know, which is very unusual. Very unusual.
Oh, what kind of signal? Again?
It's a UVC. It's a UVC energy, but it's a solar blind. It's when the wavelength it is in the UVC range around 185 to about 240 nanometers. It's a very low wavelength, and we had very positive triggers at least two different sightings that we had down there.
Yeah, and these sensors, what John's saying, these solar blind sensors, is they're not triggered by the sun. This is something separate from the sun.
Right. Most of that solar energy is blocked by the Earth's atmosphere anyway, so it never really makes it down this far. To have that kind of a detection with no other source, unless it's a corona discharge or a lightning burst or something like that, it just simply wouldn't exist.
And John's talking about an incident we had where we had a bluish or purplish plasma that was moving laterally along the shoreline. Made no sound. It was low to the water, close to the beach line, and we had a UVC detector out there, and it was triggered several times, which indicated to us that this object was either giving off some kind of corona discharge, or it was a plasma.
Right, in a very distinct wavelength, very distinct.
Yeah.
This particular sensor is it's got a very narrow window.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. I guess so Dr. Teodorani was saying something about it takes a very special person. Well, it takes a very special plasma to become sentient, and he said part of the reason was, and folks out there, we're going to get to nice pictures and clips too, so don't despair, and then we're going to go do some UFOs next episode. So I am plasma obsessed, but anyways, continuing along here.
May I just make one comment?
Yes.
It's an aside, so I just want to
Yes.
say it, and then
Yes.
we could definitely move on.
Yes.
But it's a little bit alarming to me, only because of the lore I've heard in the recent past of people researchers who say that they believe, I don't know what their evidence is, but they believe that some non-human intelligence have said that they view, we've all heard this, they view humans as containers. So that's alarming when you think about what we're all just talking about, that potentially the sentient plasma has no real form. And if it does gain intelligence, it could live inside a human container, can't it? That's very science fiction-ish.
Yeah. That's bizarro, and that's a good point, because you may have heard Dr. Rudy Schild's discussion about a very close friend of his that passed away, unfortunately, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who was one of the astronauts, and it's a very famous story. I'm sure you folks heard. So the astronaut's consciousness at some point during outer space basically left his body and went into, and I believe it, went into the entity of an elephant. And the reason why I believe it is it does touch on Dr. T's comment of conscious universe and quantum entanglement, and actually Dr. Teodorani also explained that there's other colleagues of his that talk about a conscious universe, and that there's some sort of memory or experience that is self-contained in space-time fabric, and that your knowledge is maintained. And then there's different beliefs that, you know, your energy is in your body. And as Dr. Rudy once taught me, there's no specific proof that your consciousness is contained only in your brain and body, but it's been proven that it's around it, and I kind of believe it. There's plenty of remote viewers and plenty of out of body experiencers. You know, this, and it all, you know, the reason why I like this is, you know, UFO Report. I focus on the science and technology behind this. So people out there that are saying, you know, I'm going crazy and it's superstition or it's sci-fi make-believe, you can really relate a lot of it to science and technology. You folks agree with that? Have you seen anything, you know, with these intelligent, you know, these intelligent orbs or plasmoids? You've seen them move around and you've seen them evasive. So would you say they're being controlled, or would you say that they're self-controlled?
Well, I mean, going on to the on the fact that the talk about consciousness. I mean, there's been a lot of books and papers written by the science, you know, neuroscientists who have just started suggesting these kinds of things probably the last couple of decades. The possibility of consciousness existing outside of a physical structure, or maybe existing in an external matrix, an external information network.
Right, some kind of corporeal life.
Yeah. And we're outside of corporeal life.
Okay. Well, and this whole thing, you know, so your colleague that you know, I was just reading his material last night. He was saying something interesting, like you know, these and folks, we're going to show a little bit of footage and pictures in a couple more minutes. But he was saying, you know, you've got orbs, you know, globes. Then you've got other entities, and he's explaining that it takes a massive amount of energy and a crazy, enormously huge magnetic field to keep these self-contained. And it's kind of bizarre. Maybe you could help us, like in layman's, wrap our brains around it, because according to what your colleague wrote, folks, he said that you can actually have plasmoids that are not so intelligent, but they're generated from mountains that are on top of minerals, and there's so much pressure and force and gravity and whatnot, the piezoelectric effect, I guess, that you'll see orbs and they look mystic or alien-like, but in that case they're not. And then in other case they are intelligent. I don't know, maybe you could shed a little light on that.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is, I don't know if is it the same thing. I mean, you get the piezoelectric effects, you know, caused by geologic forces,
right, which can be found in sand. I mean, beach sand.
You know, and those are short-lived. Those kinds of plasmas. Then you got these other plasmas that seem to be self-contained. They seem to have their own electromagnetic field, but they can exist for long periods of time. They seem to show bizarre motions. They seem to show some awareness. Yeah. They hover in place. They seem to appear and disappear. I mean, that's the kind of things we were seeing.
We also saw multiples often, or enough, where there seemed to be what appeared to be synchronous movement.
Right. So
yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Donna was saying, synchronous rotation too. That we.
Yes.
They would react to each other.
More than one object.
React to each other, and some of them would actually split into binary forms, or split into two. Or more.
Choreographed, like the video that was released in the trench.
Yes.
Trench, just like
the
that.
ability to merge also.
Yes.
You know, we have that documented in one observation.
Yeah, and actually we're gonna. Why don't I pull that up and
sure.
And yeah, and we can have a look at that. Let's see. Right. Okay, so here's one thing. So I borrowed this from Ross. I'm sure he'll be delighted. But here's so here's one
moving in and out of the water, which suggests that whatever these objects are, they're transmedium. Do you agree?
Yes, because we had a couple of instances where some of these objects we had noted them touching down on the water, and they would seem to pass through the water without disturbing the water, which was interesting. Yeah, and we recorded that several times. You know, they're we used in that case.
So, so when we look at that, I think in the same time frame, and I have a few pictures. One of them you were observing near the water, and orb. I think it turned into two, or it was two, and then it merged. I have that.
Yes,
And,
the video you just showed is an incident that occurred in I think it was February 13th, 13 or 14 or both. It was 2023, I believe, and these were objects that appeared suddenly in front of us. John and I were out that night, and this occurred from activity occurred from 10 o'clock at night intermittently to about 4 o'clock in the morning. And these objects suddenly appeared in front of the vehicle. We first saw them on the central monitor. Each one of those objects were in different spectral ranges, in different ranges of the IR. The one on the water that we were looking at was the only visible one. And that was actually rotating just above the water, casting a reflection down on the water. And it was changing its elevation periodically. And also changing its luminosity. As the faster it spun, the more luminous it became. And as the spin rate dropped, the luminosity would drop. Okay. And that was the only one that was visible. The other ones were in different ranges of the IR spectrum, from near IR to shortwave IR.
So there were other ones, but they weren't visible to the naked eye.
Yeah, and you kind of see the other ones floating about near it. The other thing is we were getting radar tracks on those objects. Yeah. And they were only between 400 feet to 1,600 feet out. Right near the shoreline.
Is it? Do you folks have any idea why they're not all the same? If these things have a self consciousness and they have a purpose out there, why is this one saying I'm gonna be yellow and the other one saying I'm gonna be invisible to the people? Like, why are they doing that? Or is it something that they're doing that requires them to be invisible, or do you have any idea what's going on with that?
Well, they seem to change their spectral ranges. I mean, that's what we've been noticing since we've been out there. Is they seem to be able to change their spectral signatures.
Yeah, and could it be deliberate? Absolutely. I mean, it
could be. Yeah.
There are times that they go invisible. They go into the IR, the infrared. Yeah. So we can't see them at all. So it's I guess that's the challenge. Is what kind of a message are they sending us? If they are visible and something that we can see with our.
Well, I know one message when I had the first time I had the honor to speak with you folks when I was running a MUFA Massachusetts meeting. Excuse my language, little boys and girls out there, but I know you pissed off a Chevron, so it became visible and did a temporary harm assessment. And so I know it didn't want to be seen, and then it said, "Oh yeah," and it was a threat assessment, I guess you were telling me.
And that was that August 28th incident.
Right. And we have Jill from Ill Squared Research, good friend of mine, and her question is that since you've been able to observe specific types of the UV spectrum, were you able to see any signatures that could somehow reveal what the plasmas were composed of? Kind of a pretty technical, good question, but in other words, have you been able to make out what these plasmas are?
So we've been able to detect them, but down in the UVC wavelength, that's not something that most spectrographs or spectrum equipment, light spectra, will be able to see. Some of that wavelength, it's lower down in the UVA range, maybe UVB, but not quite far down to the UVC. And so something like this is another reason why it's called UVC or solar blind, because it is a rare occurrence in nature. It's like I said, that's blocked by the atmosphere. So anything that's coming from the sun would be blocked, and anything that's created would be man-made. Or a plasma state, or like a coronal discharge that I talked about before, or an electrical discharge, an open flame that may not have the same wavelength component.
And the other thing is you can actually there is instrumentation you can identify or would help you identify the composition of these objects. You need you would have to spectroscopy, where you would look for emission lines or absorption lines in the spectral frequency, spectral wavelength.
So
That's more sophisticated.
Yeah,
and it's something we're looking into.
Okay. All right. So, wow. Yeah. So there's a lot there, just who goes there and who's sneaking around on us, on humans. And hopefully, the plasmoids aren't against the grays, and the plasmoids want to, replace us with plasma. And the grays are like, no, we want grays to be here because they all want a piece of our DNA. We got to stick up for ourselves here. How about equal rights for human beings, per se? Forget the plasmoids and the. So I've got something I'd like to show you folks and try to compare it to one of your pictures. So I'll show first. I'm going to show something from the latest tranche, and then I'm going to pull up something that I did a lousy job, but I did take a picture from the ever famous Nightcrawler Eye in the Sky book. See if I can. Nope, it won't let me get it in there. Oh boy, it's oh, there we go. The Donna's got it. Look at that. Yeah, there we are. Yes. And by the way, when we're on the topic, are you folks working on another book?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I read that. Okay. But it's a great book. It's more than 230 pages, and I think it's great how all of you actually not only talk about the anomalies, but exactly how you did it, because a lot of people won't. They feel very possessive and territorial, and they don't want to say how they did it. And I think it's great that you do. Advancing the field. I'll put this back up here. See if I can. Okay, and let's see. Okay, so here's one thing. We were just talking about that. I'd like to get your take on this, and then there's another thing. But this was one of the tranched videos from Department of Defense, aka Department of War, and so two plasmoids dancing around each other. I guess orange fireballs or whatnot. So a lot of people have already seen this, but it would be wonderful to hear what the three of you, three of the world's experts on this have to say. So I guess looking at the full video, you can see it kind of the one in the center, and then the one that's at about 7 o'clock right now, sort of rotating around the other one. Similar to what Donna said, you folks, I think, said you observed once with two of them doing some sort of do-si-do around each other.
Yeah, more than one occasion.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, now this video came from, I guess the FBI had put it out.
Okay.
And it's based on a witness that they had worked with and them going out and looking for these objects.
Yeah.
This is the same. This object is exactly the same kind of phenomena that we filmed. We have basically the same video.
Right.
We have a close up of it actually. We have they're orange fireball like objects. Orbs. We had them hovering over the beach. We had 3 of them at that time, and John had filmed them. And it's the video where John zooms in on the object, and as he goes to full zoom, the object suddenly disappears, and just it's a fiery orange orb. There were 3 of them out there, and one actually one in the middle was spinning, hovering above a beach, and casting a light on the ground. It was what looked like a more solid plasma. These other orbs were more of these orange fireballs that were to the adjacent sides of it, on the left and right side.
Right.
So we have the exact same video.
We've all seen these multiple times.
Yeah.
One single one, multiple.
Very, very common is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not the do-si-dos, not the do-si-do ones that I saw. My first field study with John and Jerry.
Okay.
They were red. They were less red orange like this, and they were although they were orb shaped, they were not as compact as that, and they had some type of a shape at the bottom that came out of the orbs, and they were making, like, one was hovering and the other looked like it was making a motion totally around it, like, so one was just hovering still and one was around it, but it was more red, not orange red. However, in my experience where I live here, I live on a hill, and I've seen many things in the skies over the years. And one night I did see something similar to that, but still different because it was more compact and it was more reddish orange glowing, not so much like a fireball. And I couldn't see any, it had very clear perimeter margins. It didn't have like gas around it or anything that made it look ethereal. And I watched it, you know, I've said this before, I've watched it travel from different fields of my house, east, south, west, and then it landed on a neighbor's lawn down the hill.
It's crazy.
One night, maybe 11, 12 o'clock.
Can I
that
ask
was the
you-
oddest thing I've seen. But it could be that
yeah.
type of a orb. It certainly
What
could
I'd
be
like
that.
to ask you, Donna, is I apologize for interrupting. I'm all excited. I'm obsessed with orbs and plasmoids, and we got a couple questions from the Big H, Hannibal himself. But I'd like to ask, with these plasmoids and these grays that are after us, Hannibal, you were talking about that Sunday night, these grays, but with these orbs, right? They touched a witness on the head. He's an author and a witness. He was on Hannibal a couple nights ago, and the guy, I think for 4 years, growing up as a child, the guy went unconscious with white orbs. And then Luis Elizondo had said once that, I think he said that the green orbs are is sort of a probe. And then according to Robert Bigelow, the blue orbs sometimes can be hostile. And so the Big H, Hannibal himself, is asking, he's been hearing that some orb colors are more dangerous than others. Which ones could cause harmful effects to humans? And which ones can we patent, go up and go, nice orb, and, try to capture and make into a pet?
I don't think we have an answer for that.
Yeah, we don't have an answer. We've observed green orb-like objects,
White.
purplish, blue, white, red,
Silvery white.
orange, yellow, white.
And something that was more white pale, but it emitted not just the red, but it emitted like we say a kaleidoscope of different
Right, yes,
colors.
Yeah. And I think that was a defining factor for us when we observed these orbs, is that we were specifically looking for that chromatic change, very distinct reds and blues, and of course everything that's in between, but very, very distinct as this thing was rotating.
And these are ones that of course, in the visible, that are actually visible.
If you see it in the visible spectrum.
Visible spectrum.
Interesting. A separate topic where we're getting kind of excited here. Hannibal would like to know, for the Nightcrawler team, did you folks have any conclusions about what the New Jersey drones of 1225 were? And do you believe the official statement, which I thought the official statement, if I remember correctly, we've been asking forever, and don't shoot me, folks out there. I do like Trump, but I'll take away a couple points from him. -2 points, Mr. Trump, because he's like, I'll get you an answer. And then, 2 or 3 weeks later, the answer, if I remember correctly, you can correct me, was they turned out to be research drones and other types.
Right.
If I remember correctly.
No, that's correct.
Not the enemy.
It's correct, but we don't believe it, and we don't accept it.
Okay.
What we were seeing is orb-like objects, and we were also seeing these drone-like objects that appeared to be separate lights. Some of them occasionally had a odd flash pattern, but they would hover for long periods of time in one spot, sometimes up to an hour.
And there was no noise. The ones in New Jersey had
very
a
quiet.
lot of noise.
Yeah, and they would seem to be large.
Right.
At least the size of a small car.
Yeah, and some of these these observations, well, I would say all these observations had a time component to it.
Yes.
You would see it that they would be seen earlier in the evening, maybe 6 o'clock or so, 5 o'clock, and then would be after 1 o'clock would discontinue. You wouldn't see them anymore. That's these
The 11 o'clock
objects that
clock,
look
yeah.
objects that look like drones.
Yeah, the ones that look like drone, like the orb-like objects we'd see, at varying times all through the night.
Right,
But-
and
but-
that's something that may not be visible. It may only be in the
But there seem to be two types of objects out there.
right.
Is it
During the chrome flaps.
would you folks say it's safe to say? I remember when we were speaking about this before, when I said, how is it physically possible when you zoom in by video that those supposed drones at the time disappear? And you guys were explaining it's a type of lenticular lens. Was your belief? Is it safe to say that the majority of those incursions, regardless of who or what they were human made, and then maybe there was some NHI mixed in?
I mean, it's we don't really have an answer for that, other than, I mean, there's a possibility you can have something that's more like a black body, or something that has like a very flat black paint that absorbs light absorbing paint.
Right.
And if they turn their lights off because they're very difficult to see. But these also didn't have a thermal signature, which is weird.
Yeah.
Usually something that's running an engine or some kind of rotor will generate heat, so you can pick up a heat signature.
Yeah, and when I was saying lenticular, I was saying the light is very directional.
That
very
has
directional.
to do with the object
Right.
on August 28th.
Yes, the lenticular appearance.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's the object that we had that paralysis on the beach with.
Right.
Oh,
Something that approached us.
Yeah, and it maybe it's so polarized in one direction that somebody that's standing literally a foot or two from you doesn't see it.
interesting. It's there's Hannibal's asking about some orbs having side effects like giving people sunburns. Have you experienced that or heard of that?
We have
I've not.
heard. Yeah, we have heard about it.
Right, and
With especially even some of the law enforcement cases where the object came close, or the cases where people had an object approach their car and say we would disable a car, but so many people would end up like with sunburns and actually
sunburn
and burns to the eyes, almost like a welder's burns.
Welder's burns,
And that could be due to our thought is it could be due to UV radiation being given off.
right. Specifically UVC.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, one thing I'm wondering about that is actually that the end of that clip that I did borrow, but we could just talk about. I'm sure you folks remember the hitchhiker effect, where you guys went to bed. I want to say it was like 1 or 2 a.m. and so something followed you guys home. It wasn't visible, but afterwards there was a huge bright light and some sort of EMI or whatever. And in addition, it shut off all the would you say sodium or something street lamps. And then,
right, these sodium vapor lamps that are in the the high brightness lamps that are in the.
I mean, John can explain the story.
The lamps.
What happened?
The telephone pole. But
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what we believe happened that night is that an object had descended over the RV, over the mobile laboratory, and it was bright enough to be able to affect the photo sensors on the telephone poles to shut those street lights off during the daytime. So they, by giving off this wavelength of light, whether it was partly visible or in the infrared, it was enough to shut these street lights down in a close proximity
at night
around the RV.
Yeah.
So it's it didn't last very long, but it did cause a very distinct interference pattern on the monitors that you could see. And that looked to me like, a changing in frequency and increasing as this thing was descending.
Would you say that's similar to what your colleague Dr. Teo Durrani was saying about you need an immense, huge amount of energy and or huge, massive, enormous magnetic field for containing these things? Do you think those two are related, or do you think this was a different happening?
Well, we think this object was probably emitting some kind of electromagnetic field.
Right. As far as the intensity and strength of that, I wouldn't know.
Other than it was emitting a field.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing about our observation also is that or secondary part of it was that there was actually two crustaceans on the beach that were literally 2 to 3 feet away from us, and they seemed to maintain an IR intensive polarization where we could see them through the night vision cameras. This was right after our paralysis. Four of us, Gerald and I, went back to the RV, and Donna and Sue, accompanied us back down with additional cameras and so forth to look at these orbs over the water.
Yeah, this was the August 28th incident where we had that paralysis effect.
Exactly, and these crustaceans, Gerald had noticed right away with his night vision that these things were basically producing a source of light that was as bright as a flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
And once we had walked over to it, and we could see that it was IR energy, it wasn't visible at all. We verified this with multiple cameras. The object that we were originally seeing suddenly disappeared. We could see that flash of red light going up into the atmosphere, which we did record. But as far as the orbs themselves, the intensity of that light, is there a powerful electromagnetic field? Well, it's very possible. It take that kind of intensity to polarize something that was on the beach in order for it to give off that kind of intense light.
And maybe, our thought is maybe the exoskeleton on these crustaceans may have been charged with some kind of energy.
Ouch.
And it actually polarized it.
Right. It would have to be electromagnetic energy, and it would have to be in that frequency spectrum, to give off that particular color or infrared.
Oh wow, we got tons of questions, which is cool. I hope you folks got maybe a half hour more.
We have a meeting actually at 8:00.
All right. We better get these in. And folks that want to see clips, we'll show you the remainder of the clips later on. They are very similar to what John and Jerry had, but
I do want to comment on some of the clips that the FBI came out. The reddish,
yes,
the two
yes.
the two pair of reddish objects.
Yes,
that had the core was like a yellow white, and the outer layer was a red. We have the same exact objects, and some of them at close range.
Yeah, very very similar appearance to what.
Very similar. Yeah.
Have you folks seen any orbs and more orbs? Have you folks seen any of these? Whether they're the size of a basketball or the size of a baseball, any silverish metallic ones? Because I had a theory about that, but someone was asking. Somebody a viewer feels that some of these that you can see through and that are colors wouldn't necessarily be able to put a dent in the ground. I think they sure as hell could burn the ground, but they're asking if you saw anything that at least appeared to be more, say, more metallic and solid or something like that.
Well, the interesting thing is, we did have a daylight sighting where we saw an orb like an object drop from a cloud, and to take a lateral path. It would look like a dusty
glinting.
Yeah, it was kind of glinting. It looked like a dusty gray. It looked like it could be metallic. And the other thing is on the beach where we were sighting some of these orbs that seemed to be close to the beach line. We were finding impressions, radial impressions in the sand at different sizes. Some the size of a basketball, some a little smaller, some larger. Yeah.
I've seen silver gray orbs,
Oh.
but I wouldn't characterize them as. It didn't strike me that I could see anything metallic necessarily.
Metallic, yeah, and I think that's most of the stuff that we've seen. Also, I don't know if you can characterize it. As
all we could tell was like this particular one during the day was a dusty gray object.
Here's one from a buddy of ours, Psionic Man. Hi, John and Jerry. Considering how Tim Phillips admitted certain things that Arrow used your playbook, which we already spoke about that offline a while ago, and I think it's an awesome thing. That's a hell of an endorsement if you ask me. But considering that, and now that Arrow is more fronting center, Psionic Man wants to know, how do you feel about Arrow? And that, well, I'll leave that up to you. How you want to say it.
Well, as far as them copying our system for their Gremlin 2 system, I think imitation is probably the nicest form of flattery.
Yes. It's an honor.
It's an honor.
And following the current work, under Kozlowski,
John Kozlowski.
Yeah, I think I think it's much more organized coming together. As far as this I would say this is very recent. Possibly with collaboration with other federal agencies as well.
But it's always hard to tell because of how it ran under on Sean Kirkpatrick. So it's hard to tell what their motives really are. Are they just trying to explain these away, or if they are taking a very objective approach? It's hard to tell. I mean, it's hard to read it. Right.
Yeah. I get the Almighty Hannibal, big, tough, strong guy. He could probably crack my head open with his right arm just by going out. But you get a big, tough guy like this, and he's asking, "Should we be afraid of plasmoids?" I say, "No, Hannibal. Do not be afraid." I'll take a vacuum cleaner if I have to, and I'll just right, guys. That'll work, right?
It's worth a shot.
Carrying around those white suits.
Wouldn't it be an interesting experiment though, if you're being haunted by plasmoids, if you had some strong magnets and you just kind of
Yeah,
Provoke them?
You got to get some brave souls on to perform some experiments.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever what's John and Jerry or Donna, what would be the most interaction you've had with these things? Like, I know Donna was saying that there was some sort of prompting, and then when you went to a window, it turns out that there was an orb or a plasmoid there on more than one occasion. And then I know you were doing something, you were telling Ross before that you're doing something with shining a really bright torchlight or something like that. What's the most interaction that you've had with these things, and how do you do it?
I would have to say, August 28th.
Your encounter of
we're teasing the object with that IR emitter.
Right, and having a physical outcome from it, physically altering.
After the seventh sweep over it, we were trying to see if we would reflect the light to gauge its distance and if it was solid, that kind of thing. And once we did 7 times, or once John did 7 times, then we noticed a response.
And we could clearly see it was reflecting this light back, this infrared light back. But I didn't anticipate that this
Come to the shoreline
would be rotating, glinting, and all of a sudden just freeze frame. You're looking at
and
reflection of light
and shoot towards the shoreline,
and then shoot towards the shoreline,
like a wave coming at you.
Yes,
exactly.
Oh my God! Yeah. Could you feel anything like any sort of static field or electricity, or did your hair go up or nothing?
That's and we were asked those questions. If it was a static discharge, your hair stand up, or did we smell a corona discharge? Smell the corona discharge?
Right.
No, nothing like that. It was just a sudden flaccid paralysis on the legs.
Right, and it was just
no muscle tone.
And it was just as I said to my brother. I said, let's move away from the shore. I said, this thing's on top of us. As I said that, that's when we had this effect, this odd effect, with this flaccid paralysis.
But they passed the grade because this, whatever this was, it fried the poor krill and not both of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank God for
the krill. The crustaceans weren't so lucky.
No.
Man, that's nasty. But it's and I know from time to time you guys have all sorts of other folks join. You've had Dr. Beatriz come and visit, and Dr. Keith goes on excursions, and
we had quite a few people out there, and Donna remembers quite a few of them. We had 4 members of Americans, the American Institute for Aeronautics and Astronautics,
including Ryan Graves.
Yeah, and it was Dr. Michael Lembeck and 2 other scientists. There was
Gary Nolan, Kevin Knuth.
Right. Yep. Dr. Laura Domini. There was Dr. Wes Waters. There was
a new PhD.
What's that?
Maya, a new PhD. There.
Yes, the new
Maya,
PhD Maya
Yeah,
Cohen.
Maya Cohen.
We had a psychic out there. We had Mark,
A psychic
Mark
nurse,
Miller.
experiencer.
Psychic.
Yes,
Julie,
psychic
Julie.
nurse, Julie Powers out there. We had in Beatrice Villa, of course, Beatrice Villarroel and Dennis Osberg, who ran Ocean X, the Explorer, who was looking for the Baltic Sea anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had the FBI out there. We've had quite a few scientists. We had a science writer out there, science journalists. We had a news journalist out there, but quite a few people.
Man, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, and you're absolutely welcome to stay on, or if you get the meeting, I'll certainly respect that. But I think you folks are wonderful, and I always do appreciate your time. And I'm gonna show one picture from Nightcrawler, Eye on the Sky, and a video that I think they're similar. If you guys got to run to a meeting, that's perfectly fine, and you could always email me, and I'll put it on a whole different show, and I'll put it up there with all the insults about how much of a moron I am, because there's no similarities between the two at all. I mean, they look similar. There's this one with you may have already seen it anyways, where there's two plasmoids or orbs above that pond in the northeast.
Yes.
And then they merge, and I thought that was very similar to one of your pictures where you were talking about
Yes.
two orbs above water, and they merge.
Yes, it's very similar to the orb we had, again, hovering over the water, shining a casting light down on a light reflection down the water. Almost exactly what we had over the water. It's also very similar to what we had over the beach. We had the orb over the beach that was shining a light, was casting a reflection down on the beach sand and beach grass, but very similar, almost exact.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm obsessed with orbs, and orbs are obsessed with water.
Yes.
And grays are obsessed with us. I don't know if we get some sort of love triangle going on here or what. Now there's
It's one of those.
well, I can't thank you folks enough. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
We appreciate it. It was fun.
Okay,
Nice
folks.
to
All
see you
right.
again, Donna.
And Don will be out with us again.
Yes.
All right. Talk to you later.
So long.
All right, so long.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.